So, as practitioners, Christine, David, Drew, and I really enjoy working with the LEA. We most commonly will use the 360 format, so we get a lot of rich data to share with our clients. We get, of course, the 22 behaviors. We use the Leadership Impact Report, which gives us some really great insights around perceptions of effectiveness. We use the open-ended questions so we get additional insights from narrative from the observers. And sometimes we'll use some customized questions if the client wants to go deeper into some important areas. So things like DEI or employee engagement or emotional intelligence. So there's a lot that's been written recently around the importance of self-awareness. And as the concept of self-awareness sort of matures in our practice areas, we understand it in two forms. External self-awareness, which is helping the individual really understand how they're perceived by others. And for that, the LEA360 does such a beautiful job. And internal self-awareness, which helps the individual more deeply understand the internal dynamics that are really affecting how they perceive and engage with the world. And of course, for that, the IDI does a beautiful job. So while, depending on the situation, we might use IDI by itself or LEA by itself, together there is, I think from a practitioner perspective and also from the client perspective, some really lovely alchemy that happens. So I think one of the things we really love about using them together is it helps the individual understand why I am so drawn to some leadership behaviors, why they seem so easy for me at some level to engage with, why, even if I'm skilled at some behaviors, they still leave me drained, and why I may tend to even avoid some other leadership behaviors. So it helps us understand how the internal motivational patterns are influencing what's expressed in the LEA and how the leader feels when it is being expressed in this particular leadership pattern. I think it really helps us developmentally build a map of developmental options that are going to be more likely for the individual to be successful at and be able to sustain because it's aligned with their motivational preferences. Of course, from a leadership perspective, you can't just look at what motivates you and align your leadership to that, because of course, there is more beyond the personal satisfaction of how I lead. There is what am I trying to achieve and what's needed from me in my environment, and how do I want to interact ultimately with the people around me. So we also explore some other things when we look at motivation in relationship to the LEA. One of the things I like to explore is where might some of your motivations that come easy and naturally and really fulfill you help you in some areas where you might normally feel more drained. So let me give you an example. I've worked with a leader. He was very motivated by things being very organized. He really engaged a lot in creating process. He liked stability and predictability. And he was also really motivated by being very connected to others, both one-on-one and in a group. And so there was a change that he needed to be a part of. And he already, even thinking about it, him feel drained. But when we started to talk about building a team to accomplish this change, as he started bringing in people that he felt really great working with, he realized that that interpersonal energy was going to help fuel him and help balance the potential drain that could happen if he was focusing on the change either by himself or with a group of people that he didn't feel as strong a connection with. So with the IDI, you can also help people navigate through things that might otherwise be more challenging for them on the leadership side by looking at ways that their motivational profile can support them. I think another thing that we do is we do acknowledge where motivational tendencies might lead you to overuse a leadership behavior just because it feels so good, it feels so natural, you get a lot from it, and why it might lead you to underutilize some leadership behaviors that, apart from your energetic feeling, might actually be beneficial for the things that you want to achieve and for the people around you. So we talk about the few times that you might be very careful to move outside of your energetic preferences. And when I talk about that with my clients, I remind them that they actually do that all the time. So I use examples like, think about setting the alarm for needing to get up very early in the morning, and then the alarm goes off, and of course you don't want to get up. Every part of you, your mind, your body, that whole energetic system is saying, no, I don't want this. But something overrides it. There is a higher order objective that says, get out of bed because I don't want to miss the flight, or I don't want to be late for the meeting, or I don't want to be late for taking my kids to school. So we have these examples of having low energy and riding over it. We also have examples of overriding a motivational, energetic sort of thrust. So imagine you being frustrated and wanting to speak harshly to somebody in your family, in your workplace, in the environment around you. And everything in you, your mind is angry and frustrated. You can feel your blood pressure increase, and you want to do something that is forceful. But then you override that because you want either harmony or you want not to escalate the situation. And so even though your motivational energy is putting you forward, you pull it back. So there are always higher order objectives that make you want to navigate a little bit outside of your motivational preferences. As coaches, we don't want to encourage that as a regular form of how we engage, but we want to look at discrete opportunities of where you might lean into an energy that is not as strong for you to accomplish something, or pull back on an energy that is very fulfilling because using it will result in overutilizing a leadership behavior. I think the other thing that's really helpful, MRG talks a lot about how the expectations for leaders have expanded so much in recent years. And so we talk a lot about shared leadership. And I think having the motivational preferences with the LEA behaviors and really looking at what's needed in the role and in the team allows us to help leaders think about shared leadership in two ways. Think about how you craft responsibilities and build your team. So, for example, if having processes and procedures and order to some degree in the way the team works, but the leader is not very motivated for those kinds of things, who in the team is motivated by that and can help add to that in terms of the team mix? It also helps us encourage leaders to find thinking partners. So if I'm not very motivated to innovate, to create, because it feels like it might be chaotic or challenging to control, I might have a colleague who actually is very energized in that innovative, creative space. And if I use that person as a thinking partner, then what might happen is that I find myself being able to stretch a little bit in a place that more naturally on my own is harder to sustain the energy. So by having the motivational piece with the IDI and the leadership space with the LEA, we really can help craft for our clients these authentic, rich ways of being in the leadership space in a way that feels authentic, aligned, and gives the leader true options for how they can engage more broadly and more effectively in the leadership space.